Imagine standing at the peak of your career, on the verge of releasing what would be one of the most influential hip-hop albums of all time. You're young, successful, and the world is ready for you. But then, out of nowhere, a murder accusation lands on your doorstep, threatening not only your freedom, but also everything you've worked for. This was Snoop Dogg's reality in 1993. Charged with first-degree murder, Snoop faced a possible life sentence. But did he actually pull the trigger, or was he caught up in something beyond his control? Over 30 years later, questions still surround Snoop's trial. He claimed self-defense. The prosecution argued otherwise. And the LAPD's role? Shrouded in mystery, with accusations of corruption and evidence tampering that only deepened the intrigue. Some say Snoop Dogg got away with murder. Others believe he was set up. Today, we'll walk through every twist and turn, revealing details and secrets about one of the most high-profile cases in hip-hop history. So hit that subscribe button for more inside stories you won't find anywhere else. And let's dive into the truth behind Snoop Dogg's murder trial. To understand the stakes, we have to rewind to the early 90s when Snoop Dogg, then a young Calvin Broadus, was quickly climbing the ranks of the rap scene. Under the guidance of Dr. Dre and Suge Knight's Death Row Records, Snoop was part of a rap revolution. After the success of Dr. Dre's The Chronic, Snoop was preparing to launch his solo career with Doggy Style. This wasn't just any album. It was poised to be a cultural phenomenon, with fans eagerly awaiting every track. The spotlight was on him, and Snoop was about to become a household name. But there was another side to Snoop's life. Despite his stardom, he was still connected to his roots in Long Beach and his affiliation with the Rolling 20s Crips. These ties brought Snoop into conflict with rival gangs, particularly the Buy Yourself Hustler Crips, a gang whose members would soon change the course of his life. It all started with a confrontation that seemed routine, at least in the world of gang affiliations. On August 25, 1993, Snoop's friend Sean Abrams had a heated exchange with Philip Waldemariam, a member of the Buy Yourself Hustler Crips, just outside Snoop's apartment. Snoop's bodyguard, McKinley Lee, stepped in to end the fight, and Waldemariam and his friends left, at least for the moment. But this tension didn't end there. Later that day, Snoop and his crew were driving through Woodbine Park when they spotted Waldemariam and his gang. This time, the tension escalated to a breaking point. As Waldemariam approached Snoop's Jeep, words were exchanged, and then, in an instant, McKinley Lee fired multiple shots, killing Waldemariam on the spot. According to Lee, it was a matter of self-defense. Waldemariam had reached for his waistband, suggesting he was about to pull out a weapon. But the truth was murky, and the only certainty was the gunfire that left Waldemariam dead. What happened next would add to the mystery surrounding this case. Instead of calling the police, Snoop and his entourage fled the scene. Within hours, rumors began spreading, and speculation took over. Was this a cold-blooded murder, or was Snoop acting out of fear for his life? Whatever the truth, the streets were buzzing, and the media was about to follow. As rumors about the incident circulated, Snoop and his team decided to make a bold move. Rather than hiding from the authorities, Snoop turned himself in, right after attending the 1993 VMAs. Appearing at the VMAs while being wanted for murder generated significant media attention, turning Snoop's legal troubles into a nationwide spectacle. He performed, gave interviews, and projected an image of calm confidence as if nothing had happened. With cameras and headlines focused on him, Suge Knight and Death Row Records capitalized on the attention, using it to build hype around Doggy Style. A bit too relaxed for a man who was accused of murder? This act led to speculations that Snoop already knew that he would beat this rap. But Snoop's arrest was no stunt. The LAPD charged him with first-degree murder, a crime that could put him behind bars for life. Because under California law, individuals involved in a crime can be held responsible if they're seen as accomplices, even if they didn't pull the trigger. To keep Snoop free during the trial, Suge Knight posted $1 million bail, a move that underscored just how valuable Snoop was to Death Row. With this, the the stage was set for one of the most gripping murder trials in hip-hop history. By the time the trial began in 1995, 2 years after the shooting, public opinion was divided. The prosecution claimed that Snoop and his bodyguard had hunted down Waldemariam, not out of self-defense, but out of gang-related revenge. They argued that Snoop's crew had tailed Waldemariam from the apartment to the park, escalating a minor argument into a deadly confrontation. Some of Waldemariam's friends testified that Snoop's Jeep had followed them, setting up the deadly encounter. Waldemariam's family sat in the courtroom, visibly shaken and devastated, listening to arguments that painted their son as a gang member and a threat. His sister, Sophia, watched Snoop from the gallery, documenting the proceedings. In later interviews, Sophia and her family recalled Philip as a young man who struggled with health issues, not violence, and was intent on bettering his life. "They're making my brother out to be something he wasn't," Sophia said. For the family, the trial was not just about justice. It was a fight to preserve Philip's memory. The prosecution presented eyewitness accounts that conflicted with each other. Some witnesses claimed Waldemariam was unarmed, while others recalled him reaching for a weapon. Then came the LAPD's role. Critical evidence had vanished, including shell casings, blood-stained clothing, and autopsy photos. Can you imagine the most basic evidence in a murder case simply disappearing? Rumors spread like wildfire, with many speculating that the LAPD had been bought off by death row's high-powered connections. Some claimed it was a cover-up, pointing fingers at corrupt officers who had ties to Snoop's camp. It was well known that LAPD officers were on death row's payroll, providing security and, allegedly, other favors. Surprisingly, the defense jumped on this, arguing that the LAPD's incompetence was proof of Snoop's innocence. One of Snoop's attorneys famously quipped in court, "The case should be dismissed if the LAPD can't even keep track of its own evidence." The contradictions didn't stop there. Testimonies from Waldemariam's friends were also inconsistent. Initially, they claimed he had no weapon, but during the grand jury proceedings, they changed their stories, admitting they had hidden Waldemariam's gun before police arrived. David Kenner, Snoop's lead attorney, seized the opportunity to suggest the witnesses were pressured to incriminate Snoop and his bodyguard. "My client was a victim," Kenner argued, "a victim of self-defense forced by fear, not by choice." But what really prompted the witnesses to change their stories? Could there have been something more sinister at play? Was it pressure or a payoff that led them to shift their narrative? In a high-stakes case involving a multi-million-dollar record label, the possibility of bought witnesses loomed large. The courtroom was gripped as both sides clashed over the missing evidence and contradictory testimonies. By the end, it wasn't clear if Snoop's defense of self-defense would sway the jury or if the prosecution's version of events would result in a conviction. On February 20th, 1996, after weeks of intense trial proceedings, the jury returned with a not guilty verdict, acquitting Snoop Dogg and McKinley Lee of murder. The courtroom erupted, with Snoop's supporters cheering while Waldemariam's family sat in stunned silence. The trial, however, left its mark on everyone involved. For Snoop, it was a moment of victory, but also a stark reminder of how close he'd come to losing everything. Public reaction to the case was mixed. While some celebrated Snoop's acquittal as a win for justice, others believed he had been let off too easily, helped by his fame, money, and death row's influence. Speculation around LAPD corruption continued, fueled by books like Chaos Merchants, which suggested that officers tied to death row had stolen evidence to protect Snoop. After the trial, Snoop knew he had to reshape his image. He promised to tone down his lyrics and avoid further controversy, signaling a shift from the gangster rap persona that had defined him. His next album, The Dogfather, leaned away from explicit gang references, portraying a more introspective and reflective side of Snoop. Over time, he distanced himself from Death Row Records, eventually leaving the label and moving towards projects that highlighted a lighter, more humorous side, including television appearances and partnerships that would pave his way into mainstream pop culture. Though Snoop Dogg walked free, the story of Snoop's trial remains a mystery wrapped in fame, money, and power, with the unanswered question: was it truly self-defense, or did Snoop's connections tilt the scales? The truth may never fully emerge, but one thing is certain. Snoop's career didn't just survive, it thrived, making him one of hip-hop's most enduring figures. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories that go behind the scenes of fame and fortune. Thanks for watching.